Raider Nation, the NFL Draft is less than a week away, and I don't know about y'all, I can't flip and wait, and if you can't wait either, click that like button. Coming up here on today's show, we're going to talk about 10 players on the Las Vegas Raiders that might be a little bit nervous for the NFL Draft. I know for Raider fans, it's always, who are we going to be bringing into the team? For certain players, it's, man, that guy might take my job. Man, that guy might take my starting spot. I'm going to be talking about the top 10 Raiders players that have the most to lose from the 2025 NFL Draft. If you plan on chilling with Jeremy Chugs and I for the draft, I want you to spam me down below because that tells me you're a real one. It also tells me that you're going to be looking for the best 2025 NFL Draft coverage on YouTube. So how we're doing this show, I'm going to work my way from 10 all the way down to 1. The player at number 1, I believe, is the player that has the most to lose on the Las Vegas Raiders from the NFL Draft. Coming in here at number 10 is Amari Burney, a 6th-round pick by Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler back in 2023 at the linebacker position. The Las Vegas Raiders, they signed a Landon Roberts. He's going to be your middle linebacker, and they signed Devin White this offseason. White, to me, is somebody who probably would take a little bit more away from Burney just because of the athletic gifts that Burney has. I don't really view him as an every-down linebacker, maybe somebody a little bit more of a special teams guy. But the silver and black have been sniffing around the linebacker position for quite some time this offseason. And when you look at the Raiders' depth chart, there's a lot of areas of improvement here. There's also a lot of players that have a lot to prove. No doubt about it. And I also know that the Raiders love a guy like Kanai Malga from a special team standpoint. So if the Raiders go out and they draft a linebacker high, I think even if they draft a linebacker in the first 5 rounds, that's going to be bad news for Amari Burney, a player getting ready to go into his 3rd year, another brand new regime he's got to go out there and learn. He might not get that opportunity to play linebacker in the NFL. Let's go to number 9 here on the list. I'm going to go with Charles Snowden at defensive end. And for Snowden, there's multiple reasons why the NFL Draft is going to make him nervous. Right now, I would say that he's probably the 4th defensive end, 4th edge rusher on the roster as it stands right now. And the Raiders have been looking for I'll call it K'Lavon Chasen type of replacement for a lot of this offseason. The Silver and Black have also been looking at a lot of edge prospects that could potentially go on day 2. Heck, they've even been looking at some edge prospects that could go in round 1. The fact that Snowden has a case on July 22nd for that DUI charge that he suffered earlier last offseason. If I'm the Raiders and I don't want to deal with any shenanigans, if I'm the Raiders and I don't want to have to deal with a headache, why not just draft an edge rusher? Let him be edge rusher 4, and if you need to move on from Charles Snowden, because again, I don't need a headache for a player who is going to be the 5th to 6th best edge rusher on my football team. I know Snowden is a stand-up guy, which that's coming from me, and I've been pretty rough on Snowden in the past. He's somebody who's been a great human being and had one really, really bad night. Unfortunately, when you're a member of the Raiders and you dealt with the Henry Ruggs situation, that one bad night to me, he wouldn't be on my team. I'll tell you that right now. Let's go to number 8 here. I'm going to go with Zamir White, running back. And it's no secret, Zamir's obviously lost a lot of love amongst the nation. Hell, I almost find it funny. Every time I put Zamir White's name up and I show Zeus, I'll always get a comment down below. Mitch, you can't call Zamir White Zeus after the way that he played last season, and I fully agree with that. He was a 4th-round pick by McDaniels and Ziegler, also getting ready to go join a 3rd regime for him. The fact that the Raiders signed Raheem Mostert, that's already replaced Zamir White, and also the fact that the Raiders drafted Laube last season, but also on top of that, Laube met with Buccaneers John Spytek back in 2024 at the NFL Combine. And I would say that Zamir White is clearly a candidate to be a cut. And the Raiders have obviously been sniffing around at a lot of different running backs. They're going to draft somebody high. That's going to be bad news for Zamir White, and I could see him being a potential cut candidate this upcoming season. And he's been a player that I've thrown out there multiple times that I could see end up being a cut candidate because I also don't think he's a very good fit in the Chip Kelly offense, though I don't know how many offenses are going to be able to use Zamir White. If you had to guess right now, I would say Zamir is probably a Philadelphia Eagle by the start of the regular season. This will be, though, the pinned comment here on today's show. Which Raiders player has the most to lose during the NFL Draft? It's a difficult question, and I know we always look at these players as positive, which I am trying to be more positive this offseason, but this is also a real-life conversation that John Spytek, Pete Carroll are going to be having, and I want y'all to let me know down below. So you're about to get over the YouTube ad break. Scroll on down. Give me your answer to this question. All right, let's go to number 7 here. It's going to be Decamerion Richardson, who is entering his second year at corner. And Pete Carroll has always done a great job being able to find corners in the draft. And because of that, I think that you're going to see this yet again. He was a 4th-round pick last season from Antonio Pearson, Tom Telesco. Battled a lot of injuries. Now, I do think that he fits the mold of what type of corner Carroll looks for. But the Raiders went out and they signed Eric Stokes this offseason. And when you're looking at guys like a Will Johnson, that tells me that this team's potentially going to take a corner very high. If the Raiders end up taking a cornerback high, that makes Decamerion probably the 4th corner on the roster in terms of who they're going to rely on the outside. Eric Stokes is going to be above him. Jacorian Bennett is going to be above him. Darnay Holmes, I think right now would actually be the starter at nickel, but depending on when they draft a corner, that's going to bump Decamerion Richardson down a little bit. And when he was drafted, he probably thought that he had a shot to start in the NFL. Now I would say if they go out and they draft a corner, like I think they will, Richardson could find himself maybe used a little bit more as a special teams player. I got the top 6 players who might be, let's say, sweating it a little bit over the NFL draft. If they had Mando, you wouldn't be able to tell, or at least you wouldn't be able to smell them. Shout out to Mando for sponsoring today's show. You can control body odor wear anywhere with Mando. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates over 40% off your starter pack. So use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Springtime, can you smell it? It probably smells like pollen. That's how my nose feels right now. But it's also warming up, which means Chuck walks, Alex date nights, and me prepping for my wedding in June. And I'm not going to lie, I'm trying to get also in a little bit of better shape. So I've been working out more, which also means that I stink. Mando controls odor for 72 hours. It's clinically proven. Clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor level was a 5 out of 10. With Mando, Chugs is right now smelling my grundle. He's telling me it's a 0 out of 10. I like using Mando because I sweat literally all the time. And because of full-body deodorant, I can take it with me on the go. So I can use it on my pits, my package. Chugs, stop touching my grundle and my balls, belly button, butt crack, sticky crevices, stomach folds, and my feet. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice. Think of it as like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes and free shipping. Shout out to Mando for sponsoring the Raiders Report. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. And it's a deodorant that, I'll be very clear with y'all, I am somebody that I get really bad back sweat. When I am in the summertime, I don't really want to obviously show that. And when Alex and I go out, it's the deodorant that I spray all over my back because I have really, really bad back sweat. If you're also in that boat, I'm telling you, Mando's the deodorant for you. Let's go to number 6 here in our Raiders with the most to lose. I'm going to go with Tre Tucker at wide receiver, which I actually think would surprise some people that he's on this list. And unlike, a lot of these other guys that could get cut, I'm not saying Decamerion Richardson's going to get cut, but I can make an argument why all 3 of these players here are going to get cut. Tre Tucker ain't going to get cut. But right now, Tucker is the number 2 wide receiver on our roster, which I would say is probably the 4th or 5th option on offense right now. Brock's obviously ahead of him. Jacoby's obviously ahead of him. And then that makes Tre, I would also say I would rather maybe Michael Mayer, Raheem Mostert, the running back position. So that's where you're kind of seeing me 4 or 5. If the Raiders go out and they draft a wide receiver high, which we all anticipate that they're going to go out there and do, that's going to bump Tre Tucker down a little bit. What happens if the Raiders draft 2 wide receivers, right? We also think that the Raiders could potentially add somebody in free agency like a oh my gosh, what's his name? Tyler Lockett. If they go out and they do that, that hurts Tucker's value, who's getting ready now to enter the 3rd year with another brand new regime, with another brand new quarterback. I know Tucker could be special, and I think that Tucker's actually going to have a little bit more value in special teams this season than other people might realize. But if I was Tucker, I'd want to be the wide receiver too. The unfortunate part is it's the shield above everybody else, Tucker. Sorry, man. Let's go to number 5 here. It's going to be Aidan O'Connell. And depending on where the Raiders end up taking a quarterback, I think most people expect the Raiders to take a QB. I've been saying for probably about a month and a half now that I anticipate that this is going to be on day 3 of the NFL draft. Obviously, if the Raiders go out and they draft Shador, that's going to be bad news for Aidan. If they go out and draft Jackson Dart, it's going to be really bad news for Aidan. But right now, as it stands, O'Connell is the quarterback 2 behind Geno. What makes me interested to see how the draft goes is because the Raiders were interested in Joe Milton, who, let's be honest, is the complete opposite of Aidan O'Connell. if they're looking for a more athletic quarterback, and if they're looking to find somebody that can be the replacement for Geno in 2 to 3 years, for a guy like Aidan that's got 2 years left on his rookie contract, I mean, I almost wonder if AOC is like, well, damn it, why can't I be that guy? And you're going to see really early on what the Raiders, I think of Aidan, but I know this. Pete Carroll wants his guys to compete, and he wants his guys to be ready to go at any given moment. For Aidan O'Connell, he's going to be competing against the rookie quarterback, and depending on who that guy is, could really impact his ability to be on this team this season or not. Though I did say this, if I was the Raiders, I would keep Aidan O'Connell on this roster to allow that rookie quarterback to continue to develop, because I don't think the quarterback that the Raiders end up drafting is ever actually going to be a legit starter for this team. Before we get into the top players here that have the most to lose, I do want to give a shout out to our January Bang MVP, our February Bang MVP, and our March Bang MVP. Venthrak, Nabman, LCA, I salute to you, and I salute to everybody that uses their hard-earned money to make sure that this show is a wild and crazy Oakland tailgate every time we go live. But I also want to mention this. If anybody ever wants to compete for the Bang competition, you will receive a jersey. It looks like this. It's whatever the month is. It'll say Bang MVP. It says 25 because it's the year 2025. Chugs and I will both sign it. We'll send it to you. And I mean this, if you're at a Raiders game this season, if you're walking around, I don't give a shit if it's a Target, and you see somebody wearing that jersey, you make sure you go up and you shake that person's hand, because they do it for the nation, and I want the Bang MVPs to get more credit around here, because quite frankly, they deserve it. Let's go to number 4 here on our hot seat list. I'm going to go Dylan Parham, and if it was up to me, Parham wouldn't be on this list. But this list is also based on what the Raiders, I think, could potentially do. Because Parham has been a starter over the past 3 seasons since he's been drafted, there's actually a chance that he might not start this season. He's entering the final year of his contract, which makes me wonder, could Parham be a player that the Raiders potentially move on from in a trade during the NFL draft? But since he's not a lock to start in 2025, I think if the Raiders go out and if they draft an offensive tackle or if they draft an offensive guard early, it could be bad news for Dylan Parham, because the Raiders have already gone out. They signed Alex Kappa. They're a lot higher on Jordan Meredith. I'm telling you all that right now compared to what maybe the nation thinks. But if you're Parham and this team goes out and they draft a lineman, and if they want to put somebody at guard, that could make Parham as a backup. And that's not what Parham wants, obviously. It's not the way that I would run the ship either. But because the Raiders went out and they signed Kappa, they like Jordan Meredith a lot. And if they go out and they invest in the offensive line, we know Spytek loves his offensive lineman, that could bump Parham out of his offensive spot. And if that happens in the final year of his contract, where he's entering another brand new coaching staff, that would make me sweat a little bit. Let's go to number 3 here. It's going to be Darnay Holmes at cornerback. And the only reason why Darnay Holmes is on this list and why Darnay Holmes is as high as what he is on this list is because he's really the only nickel cornerback that I could confidently say right now, if a game were to be today, and I am filming this video on April 16th. You guys are going to see it on a later date. Spoiler alert. But if anything happens, like if a game were to be today, Darnay Holmes would be the starting nickel corner. And because of that, I anticipate the Raiders are going to draft a corner. Because of that, Darnay Holmes is going to lose his starting spot. But with the Raiders, they want to be able to add some guys with versatility. Holmes does and has shown in years past that he was able to show a little bit of versatility. He's also a Patrick Graham guy, which I know does help him out a little bit. But we all expect the Raiders take a corner. Maybe they even take 2 corners. I'll tell you this, the one guy that Darnay Holmes definitely don't want the Raiders take is a guy by the name of Jahdae Barron. Let's go to number 2 here on the list, and it's going to be Tyree Wilson at defensive end. Y'all know that I love Tyree. He's one of my good buddies, and him and I chop it up from time to time. But Tyree, I got to be able to stay true to the nation. I got to be able to stay true to myself here. When you were drafted at number 7 overall in round 1 by the McDaniels and Ziegler regime, you are getting ready to go through your 3rd regime. If you can't get it together with Rob Leonard, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. The Raiders brought back Malcolm Kuntz, which kind of is going to impact his ability to be a bit of a more of an edge rusher. I think also then bringing back Adam Butler impacts his ability to be a defensive tackle. And then the fact that the Raiders brought back Kuntz, the fact that they brought back Adam Butler, and the fact that this team has already been looking at trenches as much as they have. I mean, the Raiders' top 30 visits, 3 guys were edges, technically, if you consider Jalen Walker an edge, which I do consider Jalen Walker an edge, they were looking at defensive tackles, guys like Mason Graham. This team wants to improve the defensive line, and I am concerned for Tyree Wilson that he's never going to get the opportunity. That's actually not fair. He's been given the opportunity. It's year 3. It's time to put it together, and if they draft a potential replacement for him, it might just be a wasted pick for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's got a lot to lose this offseason. The number one player, though, that has the most to lose from the NFL draft is DJ Glaze. And I can remember when Glaze was drafted by the Raiders, he was actually the first rookie that I was able to talk to last season, and stand-up human being, had an amazing family, and it hurts my heart a little bit that he's on this show. But if you've been paying attention to the Raiders news over the past 24, 48 hours, there is a lot of hype right now around the Raiders potentially drafting Armin Membu, offensive tackle, who is a right tackle. Glaze was able to show, I think, a lot of people wrong that there are some people that think that he could play guard. I actually think that he proved that he could play offensive tackle in the National Football League. And the way that I look at Glaze is kind of the exact same way that I would look at, a Jermaine Illuminor, where people look at him and they go, he's not the best tackle in the league, but you know what? He's a damn good tackle. And as a rookie, being the 51st best offensive tackle according to PFF in year 1, I do think speaks volumes. But, let's get this thing straight. If the Raiders go out and they draft a Will Campbell, if the Raiders go out and they draft an Armin Membu, hell, if the Raiders end up taking a Donovan Jackson, whoever the hell it might be, what happens if they take a guy and Colton Miller, who also has played right tackle, not recently for the Raiders, but he has played right tackle before. What if they kick Colton Miller over? DJ Glaze was a starter last season, and he would be the starter right now for the Silver and Black. If they go out and they draft an offensive tackle high, maybe they kick Colton Miller, but Colton Miller ain't going to be the one that gets benched. I think it would end up being DJ Glaze. So for that reason, I would say Glaze has the most to lose and is on the hottest seat, not because of his own doing, but because this team values the trenches. So for that reason, DJ Glaze is number 1. We're going to quickly run through this top 10 here real quick of the Raiders that have the most to lose during the 2025 NFL Draft. Amari Burney, Charles Snowden, Zamir White, Decamerion Richardson, Tre Tucker. The top 5, AOC, Dylan Parham, Darnay Holmes, Tyree Wilson, and DJ Glaze. If y'all don't already know, we're going to be live for the 2025 NFL Draft, and I think you'd have a lot to lose if you didn't pull up, because we're going to get the picks before you see them on TV. Spoiler alert. But hey, if you're down to have a good time, if you love the Raiders Draft, if you're excited for the Raiders Draft, I better see you, especially if you're a real one.